Why did Boston spend 16 years and $22 billion digging a hole? Even for a city where a small condo can cost $500,000, you'd still expect $22 billion to fund something pretty spectacular. But instead, it went into digging this, a simple tunnel under Boston Harbor. So why did this hole in the ground turn into one of the most notorious construction projects in American history? The story begins in 1982 when plans were drawn up for a new stretch of Interstate 90 in downtown Boston. The goal was to make a few changes to Boston's overcrowded highway system. The most important of these changes would be a new tunnel under the city harbor to link I-90 to Logan International Airport. And after years of extensive lobbying by state politicians, Congress passed a bill to fund the project in 1987, but President Ronald Reagan vetoed it, warning that it was too expensive. But Congress overrode the veto, and construction on the tunnel began in 1991. And what happened next was a disaster, and one that would go down as the most expensive highway project in all of American history. The Big Dig, as it came to be known, quickly became a bureaucratic nightmare. Construction was repeatedly plagued by extreme cost overruns, widespread delays, and even fraud. Consider this: the entire project was initially estimated to cost $2.8 billion and was supposed to be finished by 1998. Instead, the bill spiraled to over $15 billion, and work wasn't fully completed until 2017, 16 years after first breaking ground. And here's the shocking part. With interest, the Big Dig is expected to cost a total of $22 billion by the time the final bond is paid off in 2038. Sadly, the story doesn't end there. In addition to coming in at a staggering 685% over budget and 9 years behind schedule, the entire project was also plagued with extensive water leaks, poor construction materials, and fatal design flaws. There were even criminal charges filed against several contractors who defrauded taxpayers out of hundreds of millions of dollars. With so much controversy surrounding the project, politicians and the public alike spent years asking why the Big Dig was taking so long and costing so much. And the answer to both of these questions might lie in the fact that the government oversaw the entire project. When governments spend money on projects like the Big Dig, there's little natural incentive to make sure that the work is done correctly, on time, or within budget. Because the government isn't spending its own money, it's spending yours, taken from taxpayers by force. And when that money is given out to compete for a government contract, it's not like it automatically is given to the most capable person or company in order to complete the work. Nor is it awarded to those who have a allotted stake in the project or might use the tunnels or bridges to commute to work every day. Instead, political connections, manipulation of government set-asides, and those who know how to best game the system are in the best position to win. Now, does this mean that every single politician or contractor defrauds the people every time the government builds something? Of course not. In fact, many engineers and politicians railed against the poor construction, delays, and cost overruns of the Big Dig. But the problem with nearly every government project is when you're spending other people's money on something you don't personally plan to use, there's little incentive to be overly concerned with either cost or quality. And that isn't a bug within the system that any one person can fix. It's something of a built-in feature. Ultimately, the reason why Boston spent 16 years and $22 billion digging a massive hole in the ground is the same reason why San Francisco spent over $1 million on a single public bathroom, or why the federal government spent billions of dollars on a space telescope that had a blurry lens. It's called perverse incentives. All of this brings to mind a warning from President Calvin Coolidge, who previously served as governor of the very state in which the Big Dig was built. He noted that nothing is easier than spending the public money. It does not appear to belong to anybody, and the temptation is overwhelming to bestow it on somebody. So perhaps next time politicians promise a mega project with a price tag that appears too good to be true, we should remember the words of good old Silent Cal.